You know, it's funny, when you think about a cage, the image that usually comes to mind right away is something physical.
Right, like iron bars or something.
Yeah, exactly. Iron bars, cold stone floors, maybe heavy padlocks. You can reach out, touch the cold metal, and know exactly where your boundaries are.
The limits are visible.
Right. And because you can see them, you can start plotting your escape. You can, I don't know, figure out the guard rotations or try to pick the lock.
Well, the problem you face when the cage is visible is purely mechanical, you know?
Yeah.
You know you are trapped, so your entire reality is oriented around breaking out. It's a clear objective.
But consider a totally different kind of trap. What if the most effective cage is one you just cannot see?
Oh, that's the scary part.
It is.
Right.
What if it's not made of iron, but of expectations, calendar invites, ambition, and just this relentless modern hustle?
Yeah, the invisible stuff.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
system so seamlessly integrated into your daily life, your career, your social feed, that you actually thank it for keeping you busy.
Wow.
You wake up exhausted, you go to sleep anxious, and you just assume, well, that's the price of being alive.
And that right there is the invisible architecture. It is a trap that doesn't just hold you. It literally convinces you to build your own bars.
Totally.
And that underlying invisible machinery is exactly what we are examining today.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today we are taking a deep dive into a really fascinating theological manuscript. It's titled A Call to the Reckoned Life.
It's a heavy title, but so relevant.
It really is. And the mission for you listening right now isn't just to learn some abstract religious theory. We are going to decode the invisible machinery of reality.
Yes.
We're going to look at what the text actually means when it warns against loving the world, uncover the hidden architecture of the system we are all currently living inside, and explore this radically counterintuitive way to escape its gravity.
And this matters profoundly for you, regardless of your background, whether you are deeply rooted in a religious tradition or if you are simply, an observer of human nature and psychology, trying to figure out why everyone is so burned out.
Because everyone is burned out.
Exactly. This document offers a surgical critique of modern hustle culture. It dismantles the illusion of the self-help industry and names that exhausting, persistent drive we all have to constantly prove our own worth.
So, to figure out how to escape, we have to start by defining the parameters of the cage itself.
We do.
The source text begins by completely redefining a phrase we use every single day. The phrase is the world.
Right.
Because usually when we talk about the world, we are talking about the globe, right? The dirt, the oceans, the environment. We just think of a physical location.
Yeah, but the manuscript highlights a crucial linguistic and historical distinction that changes everything.
Let's hear it.
So in the ancient biblical Hebrew mindset, there wasn't a single catch-all word for the universe.
Wait, really?
No, there wasn't. They used a descriptive phrase, Hashemayim v'haaretz. That translates to the heavens and the earth.
Mhm.
And it refers strictly to the physical creation. The soil, the stars, the mountains, your actual physical body.
So the tangible stuff.
Exactly. The text describes this physical reality as the theater of God's glory.
So the physical stuff, the matter that makes up the universe, is inherently good in this text. It's designed well.
What's fascinating here is how the language shifts when the New Testament, which was written in Greek, discusses the world as a negative, corrupting force.
Oh, because it uses a completely different word.
Right. It doesn't use a word that means dirt or planet. It uses the Greek word cosmos.
Cosmos.
And cosmos originally meant order, arrangement, or system.
Okay, that is a huge distinction.
It is. When these ancient writers warned against the cosmos, they weren't talking about bad trees or bad dirt. They were describing an organized system of moral rebellion.
Wow.
It is a social, political, and psychological architecture carefully constructed by humanity to function as if the creator did not exist.
So it's a moral order.
Exactly. A moral order that stands in direct structural opposition to the kingdom of God.
Let me try to put a modern analogy to this because realizing the cosmos isn't a physical place is a huge paradigm shift for a lot of people.
It really is.
Think of the Earths, the physical earth, the mountains, our bodies, as the hardware of a computer.
I like that.
The hardware is beautifully engineered. It's a miracle of design. But the cosmos is like a corrupted operating system running quietly in the background.
Yes, that's perfect.
It has infected the software of human society. You cannot touch an operating system, obviously, but it dictates absolutely everything about how the machine behaves.
Right, it controls the entire flow of information.
Exactly. It controls what programs get priority, how fast the battery drains, everything.
The infected software is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. The physical world is just the screen where the software runs.
Yeah.
The cosmos is the underlying code dictating the behavior.
So following that logic, an operating system that massive requires an immense amount of energy.
Oh, absolutely.
It has to be powered by something. What is the battery keeping this corrupted machinery running day after day?
The manuscript identifies that power source as the atom nature.
The atom nature.
Right. It points back to the fall in the garden. When humanity fractured its relationship with the Creator, the text argues that we didn't merely break a divine rule. We underwent a catastrophic shift in our very nature.
A shift to what?
We entered a default state of autonomous striving.
So we basically decided we had to run our own lives.
Exactly. Secure our own safety and validate our own existence without any outside help.
And the text brings in Romans 3.23 to make a very specific claim about this state of autonomous striving, right?
Yes, it claims that there is absolutely no hierarchy of righteousness within the cosmos.
None at all.
None. Everyone operating on this software is equally bound by its gravity. The motor that energizes this entire corrupt world system is identified as the lust of the flesh.
Wait, I need to push back on this idea that there is no hierarchy of righteousness because, that is a really hard pill to swallow.
It challenges a lot of our basic assumptions, yeah.
Are we really supposed to believe that a billionaire CEO who actively exploits thousands of workers and a burned-out middle manager who is just anxiously trying to pay off a mortgage are equally corrupted by this system?
Well,
Because we naturally want to rank those behaviors. And on top of that, when people hear the phrase lust of the flesh, they immediately picture purely physical, scandalous behavior.
right, like partying or breaking moral rules.
Exactly. It sounds like a condemnation of physical desires.
That is the default assumption, sure. But the manuscript redefines lust far beyond scandalous behavior.
Okay, how so?
It frames unbridled lust as the everyday, exhausting hustle to secure your own worth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the drive to satisfy the self through autonomous consumption and achievement.
So it's not just about, greed or partying.
No, not at all. Whether you are the exploitative CEO hoarding wealth for security or the anxious middle manager grinding themselves into dust for a promotion to feel valued, the underlying engine is identical.
They're both running on the same software.
Exactly. Both are desperately trying to justify their own existence through their own effort. The symptoms look totally different, but the disease, the atom nature, is the same.
That makes the text read less like a fiery sermon from the 1800s and more like a devastating diagnosis of modern corporate burnout.
It really does.
It's saying that your constant low-level anxiety about not being enough is actually the cosmos draining your battery.
And the system thrives on that anxiety. It whispers that if you just work a little harder, optimize your morning routine, consume the right products, or achieve a slightly higher status, you'll finally be safe.
You will finally matter.
Exactly. That anxious striving to prove yourself isn't just a side effect of modern life. It is the literal engine of the cosmos.
Which makes this trap incredibly insidious, because if the cosmos only consisted of obvious comic book villain greed, people actively trying to destroy the world, we would all spot it instantly.
Oh, totally. We'd see it from a mile away.
We would point at it and say, don't install that software. But the text reveals that this operating system uses camouflage.
A very effective camouflage.
It disguises itself in the exact places people go to find healing or escape.
The manuscript spends significant time unpacking a concept it calls sacred ambition.
Secret ambition.
Right. The cosmos is highly adaptable. When secular achievement fails to fulfill someone, the system happily clothes itself in religious or altruistic language.
Oh, that's dark.
Yeah. The text specifically targets modern leadership models, particularly in religious or nonprofit spheres, that are identical to corporate systems.
You see this all the time. Organizations where the ultimate metric of success is endless expansion, increased revenue, and brand dominance, but they slap the label of ministry or charity on the spreadsheet.
Exactly. The author warns against self-improvement philosophies that invoke the name of Jesus to justify what the text calls the pride of life.
The pride of life.
Right. When an individual uses the vocabulary of faith to fuel corporate-style networking or to climb a social ladder within a religious community, the manuscript argues they have not escaped the cosmos at all.
They're still in the cage.
They are simply utilizing the world system under a different brand name.
The text uses this phrase that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. It calls this kind of selfish ambition the Adam nature in a Sunday suit.
Such a great phrase.
It really is. It looks respectable. It uses the right buzzwords, but underneath it is the exact same autonomous striving for validation.
Yes.
But I have to ask you about the implications of this.
Yes.
Isn't success generally a good thing? I mean, why is the text so fiercely critical of efficient leadership or someone wanting to improve their life? It almost sounds like it's condemning anyone who wants to build an effective organization.
This raises an important question,
Mm.
and we need to look closely at how the author constructs this argument. The text doesn't explicitly condemn the concept of organization or having a successful life in the physical world.
Okay, so it's not anti-success.
No. Rather, it makes a theological argument about the source of the ambition. It asserts that sacred ambition manipulates the grace of God into a tool for worldly optimization.
It's treating the creator as a life hack, like a cosmic vending machine where you put in prayers and get out a promotion or a bigger platform.
And the manuscript argues that this mindset tells the believer God's primary goal is to help them win within the very system that crucified his son.
Oh, wow. That's a stark contrast.
It references John 15, where Jesus states, if you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. The author points out a fundamental structural contradiction here.
Which is?
You cannot use the power of the Creator to succeed in a game that was explicitly designed to function without him.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. An organization prioritizing endless gain and ego-driven expansion is running on the Cosmos operating system, regardless of the holy language printed on its mission statement.
So we have this corrupted operating system. It runs on our own exhausting, anxious ambition. It is so deceptive that it can hijack our altruism, our ministries, and our desires to be good people, turning them into fuel for its own growth.
That's the trap.
It uses our own best intentions against us. I mean, that is a bleak reality. So how on earth do you break free?
It seems impossible at first.
Right. If trying harder to be a better person just feeds the Adam nature and trying to self-improve just makes you a more efficient gear in the machine, what is the actual mechanism for escape?
The manuscript offers a solution that completely bypasses human effort.
Oh, interesting.
It introduces a concept anchored in Romans 6.11, which instructs believers to reckon yourselves dead to sin.
Reckon yourselves dead.
The text emphasizes that this is not a metaphor. It calls it a mathematical reality. Reckoning.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because reckoning sounds like such an archaic word, like an old Western or something.
Right, yeah.
But the way it's used here is incredibly technical.
It is entirely technical. It is an accounting term.
An accounting term.
Yes. Reckoning is not an emotional state you have to meditate your way into. It is a legal conclusion. To reckon is to acknowledge that the striving, success-hungry, self-justifying version of you was legally terminated at the cross.
Because you cannot self-help a dead person.
Exactly.
You cannot optimize a corpse.
A dead person cannot be tempted by the lust of the eyes or the pride of life. Why? Because a dead person has absolutely nothing left to prove.
Right.
There is no reputation left to protect. There is no corporate or social ladder to climb. When you accept this accounting move, you aren't fighting the cosmos anymore. You simply stop playing its game.
The analogy that came to mind while reading this section was declaring spiritual bankruptcy.
Oh, I like that.
Let's say you owe $10 million to a deeply corrupt, exploitative bank.
Okay.
Your natural instinct, your Adam nature, is to hustle. You work 80 hours a week, you start a side gig, you try to pay off the debt to the cosmos with better behavior, more religious activity, and more success.
Right. You think, if I could just be good enough, I'll clear my ledger.
Exactly. But reckoning is the realization that the game is rigged and the debt is unpayable. So instead of hustling, you legally declare that the entity who owed the debt no longer exists.
The old you is dead on paper.
Yeah. You don't defeat the corrupt bank by finally paying them off. You defeat them by walking off the board entirely.
And the psychological difficulty of that cannot be overstated. We cling to our debt because paying it off feels noble.
It feeds our ego.
It feeds our ego to think we can hustle our way to salvation. Declaring bankruptcy feels like total failure.
But it's actually freedom.
But the text argues that this ego death is the only way out. The cosmos has zero leverage over someone who considers themselves already dead to its rewards and punishments.
I love the mechanics of that, but it brings up a very practical problem.
What's that?
You declare bankruptcy on the old system. You reckon your ambitious, striving self completely dead. But your alarm is still going to go off at 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Unfortunately, yes.
You still have to get dressed, go to your job, and interact with society. If you are no longer running on the fuel of ambition, hustle, and the need for validation, you're going to stall out.
That's a fair point.
What is the new power source that keeps a reckoned person moving forward?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the manuscript introduces what it calls the alternative energy of the kingdom.
Alternative energy.
And it grounds this new operating system in Galatians 5.6, faith working through love.
Faith working through love. It sounds poetic, but how does that actually function as an energy source?
It functions by completely subverting the metrics of the cosmos. The old operating system sought gain. This alternative energy seeks to give.
Okay, a complete reversal.
The cosmos tells you to climb over others to reach the top. This energy takes a towel and washes feet. The text calls this transition recovery.
Recovery.
And it's vital to understand that recovery is not achieved through a new 10-step program.
No more striving.
Exactly. The cosmos is a closed loop of death. But the manuscript asserts that Christ's shed blood broke that closed loop, paying the legal debt and judging the old moral order. His resurrection inaugurated a new creation.
So it isn't an upgrade to the old software. You basically wipe the hard drive and install an entirely new operating system?
Recovery is found in obedience through trust. You return to the Creator by trusting that the good news is actually an accomplished fact, that the world system is passing away, and that God's will is the only permanent reality.
That shifts everything.
It is what allows believers to live in the world, physically present on the earths, doing their jobs, raising their kids as active agents of the kingdom without being of the cosmos, that corrupt system of striving.
I really want you, the listener, to pause and contrast this with the multi-billion-dollar self-improvement industry that surrounds us every single day.
Oh, the contrast is massive.
The relentless message of the cosmos is all about upgrading yourself. Be a better competitor, hack your routine, maximize your output so you can finally be worthy of love and security.
Just work harder.
Right. But this text says, no, abandon that entirely. Stop trying to upgrade a corrupted system. It's about trusting in a finished work. It's about shifting your allegiance from a system that demands your exhaustion to a king who reigned from a cross.
Wow.
It is giving up the hustle to find actual profound rest.
It really forces you to realize that your desire to constantly optimize yourself might actually be the disease rather than the cure you thought it was.
So, what does this all mean? Let's bring all these threads together into a unified picture. We started by fundamentally rethinking the world.
Right, it's not the physical planet.
No, the physical planet is the beautiful hardware of creation. The world is the cosmos, an infected operating system built on moral rebellion and separation from the Creator.
We identified the trap of the Adam nature, too.
Yes, this exhausting battery of autonomous striving that convinces us we must constantly prove our own worth through our own effort.
And we examined the deceptive camouflage of that system, how it morphs into sacred ambition, using religious or altruistic language to justify the exact same worldly optimization and ego-driven gain.
The Adam nature in a Sunday suit, sneaking right past our defenses. And finally, we uncovered the manuscript's radical hack to escape the invisible cage, the legal accounting move of reckoning.
Declaring the old, ambitious, self-justifying version of you legally dead at the cross.
By embracing that spiritual bankruptcy, you cut off the cosmos's power supply, allowing you to run on the alternative energy of faith working through love.
It is a profound, life-altering lens through which to view reality. And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over on your own.
Let's hear it.
We've established that the cosmos, this massive, invisible architecture, thrives entirely on our collective insecurity.
Yes, absolutely.
It feeds on our constant, exhausting need to prove our worth through achievement, consumption, and status. But what would happen to the global economy, to our frantic social media habits, and to our crippling daily anxieties if we truly adopted the mindset of a dead man?
Oh, man.
If millions of people suddenly woke up tomorrow and realized they had absolutely nothing left to prove to anyone, would modern society collapse, or will we finally be free?
That is a staggering question to carry into your day because the invisible cage only holds its power if you keep running on the wheel. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the architecture of the reality around you. Look closely for the invisible machinery driving your ambitions, and we'll catch you next time.